Okay. think they were coming to the Institute.
They were coming here from Orlando's house.
Right.
Was there an implication in your statement that the Chilean police are operating illegally in this country and that they are involved, or you believe they were involved?
I believe that there is sufficient evidence based on what happened in Buenos Aires, what happened in Rome, and what happened today here, that a pattern of conduct by Chilean intelligence agencies that I think bears serious investigation by proper authorities in this country.
Was Mr. Letelier involved in anything through this institute that would lead the present Chilean government to...
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When you say be fearful, they were fearful of him, obviously, because he did represent the free people of Chile outside of Chile.
Well, what kind of activities?
The only activity that he was involved in, as I suggested, was in work. I think the answer to that is that he felt that he was under a great deal of pressure from the Chilean government, and obviously there was objective proof of that in the fact that the Chilean government took away his nationality, so that in effect they were stating that he was a non-person, which was another way of saying that because he was a non-person, he shouldn't have a right to exist. He was too, I mean, he is not in a condition to speak about this.
Are you convinced that it was Letelier who was the intended...
Well, we have no way of knowing the answer to that question. The likely probability is that Letelier, Ambassador Letelier, was the specific target. The fact is that various people from time to time at the Institute have indeed been threatened.
I don't know the details of that. He was certainly aware of it, and I would assume that he was consulted on it, but I don't know.
Is there any specific event such as that, or such as the article in The Nation, which you...
Issues have been spread at about a year apart, at about the same time of year, September, October, late September, early October, and the people. The three targets were in a very similar position with respect to the Chilean government.
Right. Also, I think that in relation to that, he was one of the few people who was trusted by all parties who did not support the junta outside of Chile, and that may indeed have been another reason that this occurred.
Earlier said this was absurd, but I'm going to ask it anyway because there was some speculation.
I think that is absurd.
That's absolutely absurd.
Have you any response from the White House or the Justice Department or the Congress?
I've called the Attorney General, and I'm sure that he'll call back this afternoon and make it possible to have an appointment. In terms of Congress, my understanding is that various members have spoken both in the House and the Senate on this matter, but I don't know anything beyond that, including Kennedy and Aberesk and Toby Moffett.
Besides the investigation, what are you hoping that the United States government is going to do?
Well, I think we should begin with the investigation and bring those people, those assassins who did this, to trial and to justice. Let's begin with that.
Is there a feeling perhaps then, and this was speculated upon earlier too, that our government had knowledge of an assassination conspiracy and didn't take any action?
I pray God that the American government did not. I assume it did not, or any part of it did.
Had anybody made any specific requests for security for this man in advance of this bombing issue?
No.
Had he requested security?
No.
Had the United States government or any agency been asked, had he been any connection with that?
I think the answer is no, but we're not positive of that.
Well, you might not know.
You might not
Yes,
know.
right.
Have you talked with the...
When was...
Well, it's only near the anniversary of the coup. His coup was September 11th. But I have no idea about that. I just think that there is sufficient circumstantial evidence in this pattern of conduct to warrant a serious investigation of Chilean activities in this country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
responsibility to announce the death, the murder of two of our colleagues, Orlando Letelier, who was the former ambassador to the United States from Chile, the former foreign minister of Chile, and Ronnie Carpin Moffat, who was my assistant and who had worked for me over the last several years as an assistant to me. This brilliant young woman of 23 years old was snuffed out in this dreadful killing on Sheridan Circle. Ambassador Letelier led the program of the Institute as it related to international affairs. And in that framework, he began the development with people here and in different places in the world of concerns having to do with an international economic order which would lead to a more equitable distribution of resources between the rich and poor people of this world. This horrible, horrible tragedy is one that touches all of us very deeply, both in an intellectual and human sense and in a political sense.
The murder of Orlando Letelier raises some serious questions. In September 1974, General Carlos Prats, former chief of staff of the Chilean army, and his wife were blown up by a time bomb in a car in Buenos Aires. In October 1975, Bernardo Leighton, former vice president of Chile, and his wife were machine gunned on the streets of Rome. Today, Orlando Letelier was blown up by a time bomb in his car on the streets of Washington with another innocent victim, Ronnie Carpin Moffat. The Chileans were three of the most prominent former members of the Unidad Popular government in exile. Orlando Letelier had no personal enemies. He was a brilliant, warm, and humane man. Only last week, the Chilean government announced that, contrary to international law, the United Nations Charter, and their explicit treaty obligations, they were purporting to take away Orlando Letelier's nationality. Orlando's response to this absurd, illegal gesture was that he was born a Chilean, was a Chilean, and he would die a Chilean. The life of a promising, dedicated young woman, married only 3 months, who was a valued intellectual worker at the Institute for Policy Studies. The United States government was seriously implicated in the events of Chile in 1973 that brought the present terrorists in uniform to power in that country. The fruits of that folly have been visited for some time on the people of Chile. Request that he initiate an investigation under his personal direction of the activities in this country of the Chilean secret police to find out who was responsible for this act of international terrorism. And on the basis of the investigation, we request that the administration take appropriate action against the perpetrators of this despicable crime. We have also asked that the Congress conduct an independent investigation of these two assassinations. I'm Richard Barnett. I'm co-director of the Institute for Policy Studies.
I'm Marcus Raskin, co-director of the Institute for Policy Studies.
According to the newspaper report I read, the Chilean government made such an allegation.
He was the leader, or one of the leaders, of the Chilean movement around the world, and indeed was a valued person to people in Europe, in the United States, both because of his ability, his intellectual ability. And I would urge all of you to take a look at an article he wrote in last week's Nation magazine on the Chilean economy and its relationship to the sort of economics that was laid on Chile over the last several years.
I think he was a symbol of free Chile, and the fact that he continued to live and work in behalf of a democratic Chile was a threat that this government could not live with.
I assure you that is an outright lie.
Was it because of his leadership then?
I think that Mr. Barnett has spoken to that in the sense of saying that he really was both a symbol and a leader of the Chilean people for democracy, both in that country, and I must add, in terms of the relationship of people in different parts of the world on questions of economics.
A representative.
That may be, we don't know. But we're not implicating anyone. What we are asking for, and what we will indeed do, is assure that an investigation at the highest levels of this government go on, and we will also conduct an independent investigation of our own.
I understand there was authority. You know, we get another.
I don't have any direct information about that. I do know, of course, that he was concerned after the assassination attempt on Bernardo. Circumstances surrounding the assassination of Orlando and the other Chilean exiles points directly to the responsibility of the Chilean who has participated in the murder of thousands of innocent persons, tortured thousands more, and kept tens of thousands of political prisoners. Now these same fruits have been visited on the city of Washington, D.C. We have asked for an appointment with the Attorney General to
The blast which killed Letelier and Mrs. Moffett occurred just as he was driving around Sheridan Circle toward his office a few blocks away. Curiously, ironically perhaps, the car was only a few hundred feet from the Chilean embassy. There was no immediate comment from Chilean officials on the death of the 44-year-old economist who had served the Allende regime in several high-ranking ministries in addition to service as ambassador to the United States. Officials at the Institute for Policy Studies, after dealing with a bomb threat in their own building, linked the killing of Letelier with the military junta now ruling Chile.
The chain of circumstances surrounding the assassination of Orlando and the other Chilean exiles points directly to the responsibility of the Chilean military government. The Chilean Gestapo has participated in the murder of thousands of innocent persons, tortured thousands more, and kept tens of thousands of political prisoners. Now these same fruits have been visited on the city of Washington, D.C.
In the wake of the Allende assassination, Letelier spent a year in jail in Chile before being allowed to go into exile. The current regime has also revoked his Chilean citizenship. Jim Kincaid, ABC News, Washington.
Probably won't be able to tell why.
What kind of explosive material was found?
Don't know. Our explosive awareness people are going over it now to try to determine that.
Where was the explosion appear to happen? Under the hood, in the car itself?
I don't know the location. Again, that's what we're trying to do now, is determine exactly where it occurred, what kind of device it was, and some background on the people as to why it occurred.
Can you describe the car where it was mostly broken up?
The passenger compartments suffered severe damage, and the hood of the car was also, the inside compartment was damaged.
Was there fire?
Initially there was, yes.
What kind of explosion was it? A large one?
I'm not qualified to tell you, I'm really not. So.
How seriously injured were the passengers?
Well, you can check with them.
If you had an idea on them,
No, none of them. They're all at GW. I know our investigators are back at the office working on it, but I don't have any names.
Do you know if anybody's survived?
I know that we had nobody dead when they left here. I don't know
Dead
what
on
happened.
arrival?
There was a report that there was a severed head over there. Is that true?
No, I haven't seen no severed head.
Was that thing shot?
Having officers discovered a car that had an explosion occur inside of it. There were 3 people in the car, 2 men and a woman. All 3 were injured, taken to GW Hospital. I don't have identification on it. We're working now, as you can hear and see in the background, to sift through the evidence and try to determine the type of explosion, where it was placed. And our investigators are trying to find out more about the people inside the car to maybe piece together some reason as to why this occurred.
There's been some mention that the car was Irish owned. Is that true?
I don't know who the car was owned by.
You have no connection with the Romanian or the Irish embassies?
We have no information connecting it with anyone right now.
The car was moving when it exploded?
It appears that it was, yes.
No one is dead yet.
Take one.
Wait a second. There he is. By that headline.
नहीं उसको हिट कर गई ना आके वॉक्सवैगन जो है How many people
Background.